A kid's book about empathy. Better Together. This book is best read together, grown up and kid. Intro for grown-ups. Empathy is a tough subject. Many adults don't quite get it. So, it's understandable that it can be tricky for kids too. As a lecturer at the University of Texas, I teach courses that involve soft skills, like self-compassion and empathy. We like to call them soft, but they're actually pretty hard to put into action. This is a book designed to offer a playground for you and your kid to explore the power of empathy. After reading the book, please don't let it collect dust. Put the 4 steps of empathy I'm going to share with you into practice and encourage your kids to do the same. And slowly but surely, we'll create the empathetic world we deserve, one moment at a time. You might be wondering if this book is important. Guess what? It is the most important book ever. No, seriously, ever. So, now you might be wondering, if a book about empathy is so important, what is empathy? Well, when I was a 3rd grader, in Miss White's class, there were 23 students. A lot of the kids in the class looked like me, kinky hair and dark brown skin. But then when I was a 4th grader, only one other kid looked like me. Can you imagine how I felt? If you said out of place, unsure, and scared, you'd be right. That's what empathy is. Empathy is when you stand in someone else's shoes. It's when you feel with someone who is experiencing something that is hard, sad, or scary. Empathy means you feel with, listen, don't judge, and ask questions. You might think that sounds like sympathy, but the two couldn't be more different. Sympathy is when you feel for someone. Sympathy sounds like, I feel sorry for you. That stinks. I can't believe that happened. Empathy is when you feel with someone. Empathy sounds like, how did that make you feel? What can I do to help? Do you want to talk about it? And empathy can even sound like silence. Just being there with someone and not saying a word can be the most powerful thing in the world. Can you see the difference between sympathy and empathy? Sympathy is easy and takes the shortcut. It might seem like it helps, but most of the time it doesn't. Empathy is hard and takes more time, but it also creates comfort and connection. Sympathy is usually about you. Empathy is always about someone else. So, how do you do this empathy thing? Well, let's say your best friend's dog dies, and they tell you at lunch the next day. What should you do? 1, first, take a deep breath. Don't be in a rush to tell them how you feel. Take the time to think about how they feel. 2, second, listen. You don't have to do all the talking. It's okay to let them share. I know it's hard, but you can do it. Focus on what your friend is saying. 3, third, ask questions. Find out what they're thinking and feeling. Don't judge them or assume anything. Make sure you use more question marks than periods in what you say. How, what, or when are good places to start. 4, fourth, imagine. Maybe the exact same thing happened to you, or maybe you've never even had a dog. That part doesn't really matter. Just try to imagine and put yourself in their shoes to feel how they feel. That is empathy. Take a breath, listen, ask questions, imagine. When you do those things, you will feel with someone instead of for them, which is a great to do when something is hard, sad, or scary. And make sure, no matter what, you don't try to fix them. This isn't about you or how you can make things better. Just be with them. Because empathy is the most courageous and creative thing you can do. Outro for grownups. You made it! Now that you have reached the end of this book, I'm sure the kids you're reading it with has a ton of questions about empathy. Let's keep it simple. As you and the kid in your life observe and take part in the moment that is called for empathy, just remember the 4 steps. Take a breath, listen, ask questions, imagine. It will take practice, but you've got this. A kid's book about empathy.